To Dockerize the NestJs application and Next.js application, we're going to create first NestJs backend project. I'm going to use Nest CLI. I'm in my folder. There is nothing here inside my directory. Let's generate a new NestJs project. I'll call it backend. I'm going to use npm. When you find the backend project, this is the backend directory. Or I can open that project to my VS Code editor. Here is our backend project. This is our Nest.js based application. What I want to do, I want to install Prisma first. I want you to open the terminal in the backend folder. npx Prisma init. It will set up the Prisma project for me. You can see a backend Prisma Prisma has been initialized. It has created the Prisma folder, and inside the folder you have a schema.prisma file. I also have .env file. We need to install a couple of dependencies to work with Prisma. I need Prisma, add Prisma client. Both packages have installed. Now we need to set up the Docker. Make sure your Docker is running. Inside the backend folder, I can create a new Docker file. It will help me to create the Docker image. We want to implement the hot reloading, so I can use separate Docker file for development, or you can have a separate Docker file for production. Dockerfile.dev. Let's set the base image with Node.js. I'm gonna use Node 18. You can use any version, Node 18/Alpine. Right. Let's create the working directory. For working directory, I can create the app directory inside the user folder. You will have the source, and here you will have the app directory. Here I want to run first. This will create the working directory inside the container, our Docker container, right? And we need to install some package for database connection checking. This will help us to add some delay to connect with database. So you can use run apk. I would like to install netcat library. Netcat, and we also netcat/open bst. Netcat is used for database connection checking. It's an optional, but I would recommend you to use that. OpenBSD, yes. Netcat OpenBSD. Now we need to copy package.json file from my current directory to container user app source app directory. So you can copy, let me change this spelling. Copy package star. I would like to copy both file, package lock.json file or package.json file. Please copy into the app directory, this one. And we also need to copy the Prisma folder. Please copy the Prisma folder. everything from the Prisma folder to here, this app directory, and we need to run the npm install to install all dependencies. I wanna run a specific command, and for hot reloading, I'm gonna use NestCLI. We need to install NestCLI globally. -g at NestJs CLI. And we need to copy everything from this source directory to this one. Copy all of the source code, test.env, all of them to this folder app. And then I will create a separate entry script. I will define that. In this script, we'll set the code for migrations, for Prisma client command, entry point.sh. And I want to copy that file into the user slash local slash bin. This directory will be created in our Docker container, and we need to give the command. If you will not give the permission to your Docker container, it will not work. So this is the syntax to give the command, to give the permission actually. User local bin slash the name of the file, docker entry point.sh. Finally, this our entry point. Set the entry point to run the custom script. This will help us to run the custom script. This should be docker entry point.sh. Entry point.sh, right? But we did not created the entry point. Docker entry point will do that. Finally, we need to expose the port for our application. I want to run on port 3000. For Prisma Studio, I want to run on Tetra 5. Yes. cmd, what command do I want to run with npm? I will use run start.dev because I want to run the project in development mode. This will start the project in development mode. This package is used to check if database is ready before starting the application. It helps us to implement the hot reloading custom script. The purpose of this script, the entry point.sh, handles the database readiness checks and migrations. We'll check did database connected or not. It will check that. Now we're going to create our startup script. This one, docker entry point.sh. I want you to go to this backend directory and create new file. Here what we will do, we will ensure app does not start before database is ready. We have to write the code. Let's say that make sure our backend app does not start before our backend app does not start before DB ready, right? We have to handle that part. We have to apply DB migrations here. If anything change, if I let's say add 2, 3, 4, 5 new fields, it will sync automatically. We also need to generate Prisma client. Generate Prisma client. And we also need to handle process signal, like we need to start the application, start the app. These are the steps we need to perform in this entry.sh. There is a specific language format like syntax to do that in sh file, right? here that slash bin slash sh. So if I need to fill that code, first I can print the message, or this is the logging the message, waiting for the database, right? And while I can add the loop while nc -t we are using here. nc here we are telling I can use the netcat to check if Postgres port on DB host is accessible. This is checking that did Postgres is running on port 5432. I'm writing the code for that. This is my container name 5432, and do. If not, then wait for few seconds. Short pause between checks. Yeah, it should be short pause between check. Do it here. Now it looks good. And finally I can return the message, or if done, if connected successfully, if Postgres server ready, then it should say the message database started. After successfully started the database, we should create we should apply migrations. It will sync our Prisma models to the database. npx Prisma migrate deploy. npx Prisma, we need to generate the Prisma client. We're gonna run this command npx Prisma generate, and finally we need to start the application. We can use the original command from Dockerfile, replace the shell process with application process. You can run this one, execute $@ this one. I know this is a weird syntax, but you should follow that. So our start script is ready now. We have created the Docker file, we created the entry script, but we did not start the Postgres container. We need a Docker compose file. I want you to create the Docker compose file inside the backend project. You can also have a separate Docker compose file for production. What we will do in the Docker compose file, we will handle live code reloading, like hot reloading. To implement that to hot reloading, we need to preserve node modules. We need to save node modules in Docker container. This is our first goal in this file. Like these are our like goals, you can say that. And ensure DB starts before application. We also need to do that. Ensure database starts before app. We have to handle that. And we need to set the environment variables for DB configuration. And we also need database container restart policy, DB restart policy. If crashes, it should restart. We also need to set the Prisma Studio, like Prisma Studio image or something like that, Prisma Studio service. Now we're gonna build our Docker compose file, right? To build the Docker compose, and use the version. Let's use the specific version 3.8. So for services, we should use the first service. We're gonna define our application, and the build should be let's provide the build context where he has to find the Docker compose file. Context should be, I think, backend. Context should be backend, and here the Docker file should be the name of the Docker file. I'm using the custom file name dockerfile.dev. This should be backend project. Instead of app, I'll use the backend project, so I can find the directory from here /backend. This is our Docker file, and now I should set the port. Let's set the ports. We need to map our port to the container port 3000 to 3000, and we need Tetra 5 to Tetra 5, and we need to set the volumes. Like, we should persist the node modules in the container, right? To do that, I'm going to follow the specific syntax backend, and we also need to save everything. We need to save the complete source code into the container, right? When container restarts, our source code will not be lost. That is the magic of volumes. Source and app. Copy that to here, right? Another thing, we should copy or persist the node modules. When we restart the application, we should persist the node modules. And we also need to set the environment variable. First, we need database URL. This should be PostgreSQL, Postgres, and Postgres DB 5432, and the name of, I'm gonna use the MyDB. You can choose any name for your database, and for node env, I'm gonna use development. This one is for development purpose, and remember this goal: ensure database starts before the application. We should do depends on DB. We did not create the service for the DB yet. We'll do that, don't worry. And finally, I'll have a command npx Prisma migrate deploy. We need to run our migrations, and we need to start the application. And if something went wrong, we need to restart unless stopped. Yes, unless we manually stopped. So our backend service has been created. Next, we should set up our DB service. Let's create the DB service. Or I should do a little bit here. DB service, we need to set the image for Postgres image, I'm using a specific version of the Postgres. So where is my where is my Docker container? I have installed a specific version of Postgres 17.6, so I'm gonna use that image. If you want, you can also follow that image, Postgres 17.6. And we need to set the ports. We would like to map current host port to container port 5432. And we need to set the environment variable. The first one is Postgres user, I think. Postgres user. Remember, we are using this one. The Postgres user is Postgres. And the Postgres password, we are using this one, the same Postgres. And we have Postgres DB. The DB name should be MyDB. Remember, we use the MyDB here. So we set the DB configuration. Next image, we should have Prisma Studio. Prisma Studio. We need to pull the image for Prisma Studio. What I can do, I can run separate by pulling the image node 18 inside this container. I would like to run the Prisma Studio. So working directory is /app. Create the working directory. And volumes, I can say that backend. Please copy the backend folder to the app directory. This one is my working directory. Please copy this backend folder to the app directory. And we need to set the ports. For the ports, I would like to map Tetra5 to Tetra5. And we also have to set the environment variable. Environment, we should set the database URL. Database URL should be, I think we should copy the same DB URL from here, and I'm gonna paste it here. Next, I should set the depends on this Prisma Studio should depends on DB. And finally, we're gonna run a specific command to run the Prisma Studio. I'll call it npx Prisma Studio. This will help us to double check your DB and to work with DB. Finally, we're gonna declare the volume Postgres data. It will save the Postgres related data into this folder Postgres data. So we completed our Docker Compose. We have defined DB service, Prisma Studio service, and we set the named container, named volume to store the Postgres related data. Now we're gonna create our first model for only testing purpose. User ID. I will have one model. The ID type should be int. You can choose anything here. And this one is ID and a default. Oops, what I was doing. And default should be auto increment. And I'm gonna have the email name property. Name is string. And I'm gonna have the email property. The type should be string. That's all by now for user model. Now we're gonna generate our Prisma module. Prisma. and we need to generate Prisma service. Prisma. Let's write code for Prisma service. Make sure you export the Prisma service so other modules can use the Prisma service. Prisma service. Here it's gonna extend from Prisma client, yes, and I want to implement some interface. When our application starts, we would like to create the Prisma client. That is the main purpose of this file. On module init, when we destroy the application, we should do some code. Like we should disconnect with Prisma client. That is what we are going to do. Let's define a method on module init. I think it will generate the method for me if I click here. I think no, I should do manually. Yeah, on module init, we would like to connect with Prisma client. I can use this method, this dot connect. This should be async function. Let's implement that. This should be this dot disconnect. We would like to disconnect with Prisma client. This dot disconnect. Make sure it should be async. We just handle the proper connection management. We use the injectable service. This service should be injectable. This is just connection management. Now we're gonna write a couple of scripts to handle with database operations. Nest build, that would work, that's fine. Nest startf, that is fine. Now where I should add, here I should add the DB related. DB generate, the script should be Prisma generate. Prisma generate, you can also do that. DB push, this one Prisma DB push. This one is DB Studio to start the Prisma Studio. I'll use it Prisma Studio. This one we can use the migration. DB :migrate. You can run a specific script to migrate. Prisma migrate def. And we should DB :migrate deploy. I'll set Prisma migrate deploy. Prisma migrate deploy. This is used for migration. Our last command is DB reset. I can use the Prisma migrate reset. This will delete everything from your database. It will start from the scratch. Now we need to write some code. Let's generate module users. Here I will have controller users. I will also have service users. Let's create a new user inside the user service, I will inject the Prisma service, private Prisma service, and I'm gonna use the Prisma service. So I will have a create user method, create user. It will take an object or create user DTO, right? Create user DTO. We did not create the data transfer object yet. And finally, it's gonna return the Prisma dot user dot create. Here I'm gonna provide the data. Here inside the data, I will have create user DTO. Let's go ahead and create a new folder DTO. Here I will have create user DTO. I just want to show you for only demo purpose. Export class create user DTO. I will not implement like input request validation. We will have name field, type should be string, and we need an email field. That is it. So I can use the create user DTO here inside the user service. Let's import create user DTO and let's set the route create user DTO. Post, this should be, it's a decorator, create user, or you can have create. Inside the body, we need a request body. It should be create user DTO and create user DTO. And we need to inject the control. We need to inject the service here, right? User service. This should be user service. And I'm gonna call this dot user service dot create user. All I need to pass the DTO. Please return something from here. Yes. So now we need to test our application. I'm going to run the Docker compose up. Volume service, backend volumes are missing. We're gonna do a lot of like fixing the code. Make sure do not add the space. What is this? Prisma Studio is not allowed. Property Prisma Studio is not allowed. This is our backend image. This is our DB. Oops. I should place Prisma Studio here. There's an indentation issue. This is our Prisma Studio. Let's run that. Now what is this? Prisma Studio is not allowed. Additional property Prisma Studio is not allowed. Where I use the Prisma Studio. Now unable to context the path for backend. Not found. Backend not found. I found a mistake here. It should be database URL. There was a typo mistake in the backend service. There is another mistake here, database URL. It should be depends on the DB. Let's set the indentation for volumes. npx Prisma Studio. Now we should try that by running the Docker compose up. Unable to prepare the context For backend, I think I have the file here in the root directory. So I can use the dot here. So here it means I have placed the Docker dev file inside the root directory because I have the Docker compose file in the backend directory. So I can run that Docker compose up. It's gonna install dependencies. I'm getting an issue here. Npm run install. My in build has been failed. What I should do? Dockerfile.dev, a complete log, npm install, failed to process bin sh.c. Unsupported engine. I think we should use the node 20. Let's double check the version, the latest version from Docker Hub. Let's search for the Node.js or the node, only node. I want to see the official node image, this one. The latest version is, I think, 24 Alpine 3.1. 24 Alpine 3.1. We should use the exact version in the Docker dev. 24 dash Alpine 3.1. Let's run the Docker compose up. It's gonna pull the image, the latest image. Now it's gonna pull Prisma Studio and it's gonna pull the DB. I found another typo mistake. It's not a charmed, it's CHMOD. So make sure you correct that. Docker compose up dash build. Now node modules have been installed. Docker is at this stage, this one. I think this has ran successfully. Network is created. Container backend DB container has been started. Prisma Studio has been created. But I got the issue, failed to set up container networking, driver failed, programming external connectivity. Something is running on 5432. Let's double check that from the Docker. Oh, I think this, I should stop that. This existing project is using the Postgres. That was the issue. 54335 double tetra 5 is already bound. So if you want, you can use a different port, 556. There is an issue with this formatting, so I can all you want to do, you can copy the exact file. Maybe there is an indentation issue. You should copy the exact script and paste it here. Docker compose down, stop the Docker container. Now I should build the application again. Now you can see my backend container has been started. Now everything is working fine. Now you can see that my Prisma Studio is also running and my DB service is also running. So we gotta test the API endpoint by sending the, what is this, schema.prisma file not found. Schema.prisma file not database started, but could not find the Prisma schema that is required for this command. Another thing, we should fix it. We should remove the backend because my Docker file is placed in the root directory. I should do that. This one is fine now. We also need to change the path here for volumes. That will work. I hope that will work. I found an issue. I did some research on Stack Overflow. They said you should import Prisma client from generated folder. If you look the Docker image or Docker container, this one is, if I go to the container, I'm in the backend, I can see the files. My source code is inside the user folder. We have the app directory. Here we have the project. This is the generated file. So what you gotta do, you gotta change Prisma service. I want you to import it from the generated folder /Prisma. And then you should run Docker compose down and Docker compose up -- build. I'm still getting the issue user service. It will be fixed. Don't worry about that. For user service, make sure you import the Prisma module. You can see the hot reloading is working now. You can see that. Now what I want to do, I want to send the backend request to create a new user. So my application is running on localhost /3000. If I send the get request, you should see the message, but I'm not getting the, let's localhost /3000. Oh, hello world is working now. Oh, because I was sending the post request, get will be working. Hello world. Now we should create a new user /users. Internal server error because I did not provide the body. Let's provide the name. Let's provide the email. What is an issue? Public user. invalid this dot prisma service dot user dot create. Let's use docker compose, execute the name of our service. In our case, I think I set the name backend. Oops. The name backend. npx prisma generate. Let's check the Prisma service. Actually, the user service. Prisma.user.create. Prisma.user.create. Data. Did I miss anything? Create user DTO. Let's log the create user DTO. Create user DTO. Create user DTO. What is this? Create user DTO is working fine. User does not exist at the character insert into email. We need to provide the name email. I have to figure this out. I think my migrations and Prisma client is not generated. So I want you to go to your container, the backend. This is the application. I can interact with container. Here I can run npx prisma migrate dev. Init. Here I can generate npx prisma generate. npx prisma generate. Let's try to check. Now you can see a user has been created. This is amazing. You can also double check the user from DB, MyDB. This is the name of the database, and I can see the users collection. And you can use all rows. So I can see there is only one record. If you want to connect with PG admin, you need to provide these connection strings like Postgres password. This is the DB name. You should provide to the PG admin.